All right. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening from wherever you're joining us from, and welcome to this wonderful webinar, AI-powered board governance with eBoard. And basically, we're looking at how we can be able to modernize board and governance with eBoard. So if you're joining us, if you're from the 254 Kenya, we say karibu sana. Yes, so just we'll just give a few minutes as people join in, and just settle in as well. So karibuni sana for this webinar. Great stuff. I'm seeing people have joined in. Thank you, Michael. I see Hope Wangeshi. I see Tekla. Right. Thank you. Thank you for making time to join this particular discussion today on AI-powered board governance with eBoard. Right. So I think we'll just, as people come in, we'll just get this particular show on the road. And we're having a couple of people who are going to be presenting today, right? So with me is Amos Washanga, who's the CEO here at Sibasi as well. I don't know, we'd want to do a mic check. Say hi to the people. Right, can hear you loud and clear.
Morning, everybody.
Well. Right. Yeah, we also have Annette Irungo at the background. She's the one who's going to be checking on the Q&A and just making sure that all the questions, comments, and concerns that you have are going to be addressed. So she's going to be looking at that. And also we have other members of from the team who are actually at the background ready to, answer any of your questions and concerns with regards to what we shall be discussing today. So feel free to just engage with us. And with that, I think we definitely segue into housekeeping, even as you come in. One of the things that we say is that this session is live and we'll be capturing the highlights. So expect a polished recording delivered to your inbox within 6 business days. And also, secondly, we love your engagement and, we are here to make this particular experience valuable for you. So our live Q&A is open throughout the session. So feel free to drop your questions or your comments at any time. And we know that we're going to have different parties, probably from government, from commercial space as well as non-profits. So feel free, you're welcome to this particular webinar. It's going to cut across, all the industries that we have. And we hope that it's going to be engaging and insightful for you. So yeah, with that out of the way, I think we can just basically dive into what we're trying to discuss today. So basically some statistics here, in terms of a reality check, human labor is reaching its limits, and many of us feel this every day. From the Work Trend Index, there's statistics that show that 80% of employees and leaders globally say that they do not have enough time or energy to do their jobs. And I know probably most of us can resonate with that particular statistics. And interestingly enough, it says that, 53% of the leaders say that productivity needs to rise to meet, business goals. So you are seeing that particular catch-22 situation. You do not have enough time or energy to do your job, yet productivity needs to increase. So how do we bridge that particular capacity gap? That is where AI comes in. And throughout our webinars, I think for this year, we've been trying to, sound what we are seeing from a technology standpoint of what the trend is going to look like in 2026. And what we are seeing is that there's going to be a rise of what we call, I think most of us have engaged with copilot, which is, every employee having an assistant alongside with them. But I think the next thing that we are seeing is, the rise of what we call agents, right? Autonomous bots just coming in and working and doing some tasks for you or on behalf of you, right? So that is what we are seeing happening from 2026 onwards. And just to give you a snippet of the landscape and how things were, for decades, organizations have invested in technology to make people more productive. Remember that 53% were saying that productivity needs to increase, and that is why most organizations invest in technology. But until recently, technology mostly helped us to do things faster, not to think differently, which is very interesting, right? So today we are at a turning point where the nature of knowledge work itself has to be redefined. So back before 2023, how things were is not technology supported, knowledge workers. Knowledge workers were at the center of it all. They're the ones who are doing the thinking, they're the ones who are doing the analysis, they're the ones who are doing the decision making. So technology was just supporting them with tools like emails, documents, spreadsheets, and dashboards, but the thinking still remained with the humans. Then came the era of 2023, 2025, where we entered into the era of copilots, right? AI moved from the background into, your daily workflow, helping you write emails, summarize meetings, analyze data, generate reports, and even assist with coding in some senses. So this was a massive shift. AI was now becoming, a collaborator. However, the human is still doing the orchestration, kind of like asking the questions, validating the outputs, and executing decisions. So where we are looking at is, even though Copilot is powerful, it still depends on human to initiate and manage every task. So as organizations scale, this creates a new bottleneck, right? Humans become the coordinators of too many AI-assisted tasks. The next challenge is not only doing tasks faster, it's now managing complexity. And so in 2026 and beyond, we are moving into the era of what we call AI agents. Here Copilot is not just assisting, it's now managing the agent. So and we're going to be looking at the definition of what you know as Copilot and what you know as agents, and then we're going to be tying that in with what we're going to be talking about today, which is eBoard, right? So basically what we're looking at here is that instead of asking AI to draft an email, analyze data, and create a report separately, knowledge workers can now define objectives, and then AI agents handle the execution. So the human is now shifting from doing tasks to directing outcomes. And I think that is now how we bridge that particular capacity gap. There's an interesting quote here by one Joel John, and it says, Copilot is a force multiplier, right? AI does a lot of, the heavy lifting, so the people we help do not fall between the cracks. And that is now what we're seeing in 2026 and how we're going to tie that up with the discussion for today. So when you talk about agents, there's this whole question about, what's the difference between co-pilots and agents? A co-pilot is an AI assistant that works alongside a human. So think about it, as a companion, right? Or as a PA, if I might use that particular word, helping the human to think, create, analyze, and decide, but is always under human direction. An agent, however, is an AI system that acts on behalf of the human. It autonomously executes tasks across systems and only involves the human when judgment or approval is needed. So that is the era that we are going into. And agents fall in the category of spectrum. So it could be things around retrieval. So we are looking at about, just agents that are designed with specific instructions on how to behave, their personality and their overall objectives. They follow predefined rules and guidelines. So that is in terms of retrieval. When you're looking at about tasks, we're looking at, agents that are connected to specific workflows or processes. They operate based on knowledge, skills, and rule-based automation. Then now we have what we call autonomous agents, which just operate independently, dynamically planning and learning from the process. So that is the spectrum of agents that we have. And a good example of an agent is this particular showcase here. The trigger is an email, so the agent, is supposed to now get the instructions. The instruction for the agent is to, process incoming client engagement requests, find the right skill set, of colleagues, verify the existing engagement, and then log that engagement in a database. And then it uses a series of knowledge and actions, like, for example, your Power Automate flow to execute the appropriate actions. And then finally, the colleague is assigned. The colleague assigned will receive an email saying that they have been assigned that particular client engagement. So the human was not involved in trying to figure out what the email was about, what the client was about, what the engagement was about. They just get this particular information based on how, the agent has been trained to do. So that is what we are looking at, and that is going to be the trend going forwards in terms of organizations are going to be building up agents to help do, some of the repetitive work that we have, and therefore build capacity, right? So how does a frontier farm look like in this era, and what are some of the major things that we need to look at? A frontier farm in this era is really keen about delivering, their objectives more efficiently. They're really keen about, better stakeholder engagement. And above all, they're also concerned about how can they operate efficiently and secure. And there are four frameworks that we've seen here. The success framework has four particular components that every organization needs to think about. You need to think about how are you able to employ and then, to enrich your employee experience. How are you able to make them work better and enjoy the things that they are doing? How are you able to help them, connect and engage with their customers, either the customers or donors, their stakeholders? Are you able to help them do that much better? Are you able to, reshape how, the business processes, make them more aligned, make them more simpler, make them more optimized, right? Are you also able to help them, bend that particular curve on innovation, as things are coming in, organizations are having newer and newer challenges as the days go by. And so one of the things that we have realized, and especially even from a board management perspective, is when you're preparing, for example, to, give some information to the board and all that, we have this information coming from different departments, right? So different aspects or different departments in the organization hold the information that the board would need to be able to make the decision. But what we have seen is that all these particular departments are working in silos. They're not necessarily connected. So what eBoard does and does very well is trying to break down these silos and, put all this information together so that even as the departments are interacting with your customers or your donors and your citizens, or with your suppliers and your partners, or with even investors and regulators, you are able to have all that information into one particular place, and therefore the board is able to get the right real-time, analytics to be able to help them to make decisions. So that is the impact that we're looking at here that eBoard has, right? And just to kind of mention, eBoard is our flagship product here. It's a BASI, and it's built on world-class comprehensive architecture. And all this is about, it takes care of your security. It's a secure platform. It takes care of collaboration, like I've mentioned, breaking down the silos and making sure that all this information is placed in one place where you are able to access easily. It's also integrated. It works with some of the, the tools and the technologies that you have or are currently using within your organization. And lastly, like we've mentioned, we can't have any particular system without mentioning AI powered, right? On top of all the data and, breaking down all the silos, we are able to accelerate how you get information and how you make decisions through AI, right? So eBoard basically exists to remove the friction at the highest level of decision making. And it does this by bringing structure, clarity, and control to how boards operate, right? Some of the interesting features that we have, like we said, one of the challenges that we have as organizations, or many organizations do face, it's kind of like silos, right, of information. So what eBoard does very well is centralizing your information into one particular repository. It's also easy and simple to use. It's easy, it's intuitive for each and every person that is able to log onto it to be able to find their way around, the system and be able to actualize the things that they want to do. The other thing is that you're able to actually access information from anywhere. So, it's number one, it's on the web. Number two, you have your mobile application, so you can be able to access information from whatever devices that you'd have and while you are on the go. The other bit is also around notifications, so you're not going to miss in terms of any new things that are coming up. Probably there's a meeting coming up, or there's there's a vote that needs to be done, or a vote that has been done, and some announcements around that. You should be able to get information of that very, very easily. Right. The other bit will be around workflows and tasks. So you are able to now look at, keep an action tracker. You are able to configure some workflows on the system that allows you to be able to work much better and smarter. And on top of it all, like we said, for better decision making, you have, your AI-powered features in there. And, we'll segue right into that particular session shortly, where you get to see all these features at play and also see how AI is now driving this particular conversation to the next level. But like I mentioned, we cannot talk about, eBoard or any of the technologies and the solutions that we are offering without talking about security. So it's built on the foundation of certified secure hosting environment, so you can rest assured that the information that you have on it will not be leaked, and it is very, very, very well governed by all the all the regulations that apply, whether it is your Data Protection Act here in Kenya, or any of the laws that would govern any part of the world that you probably would be working in. Yeah, so that's a bit of a brief in terms of what we're going to be looking at. But for this particular next session, I'd want to call up Amos, to take us through. I've just talked about the features and what we're looking at, but Amos is now going to show us, under the hood, what does eBoard look like? How can it be able to help you to, take your organization to the next level with regards to how you manage your board engagement. So Amos, without further ado, please feel free to take the stage.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Edwin, for that intro and overview. So it's a pleasure, I think, connecting with everybody. I see familiar names, friends, and people I know personally. And those who I don't know, my name is Amos, as introduced earlier. And I'll be happy to actually do the walkthrough for how eBoard more or less looks like. So to kick off, I'll start off with, where do you get information about eBoard? So we just go to the website is eboard.cloud. And within the website, you'll get the overview about what eBoard is about. Of course, you can be able to actually go directly and log in. Probably before I start logging in, I would want to highlight, there's pricing, not really a pricing calculator, but basically where you might be able to see how much you'll save in terms of hours. And this is based off research that has been done around, the amount of effort and time it takes to prepare for board meetings. The other key aspect that I wanted to highlight is, how do you get to access, of course, there's a pricing and everything else, but also how that you can be able to access eBoard on the mobile app. So whether if you go to the Apple Store, for those who are using a tablet, or if you're using a mobile, an iPhone, then you can be able to install that app. Or you can go to the Google Play side, and we have probably about more than 1,000 users that use eBoard by Sibasi, or from the Android side. So those are, if you're accessing from a mobile device, that would be the way to actually get to access. The next bit is now, if you want to access on the web, and we've seen most of the users at the end of the day, you don't want to either have it on the mobile phone. When you have it on the mobile phone, of course, there are advantages. You get notifications. If there's a meeting that is coming up, AI also helps in helping you prepare. But we'll get to look at what that looks like. But when we come into eBoard, there's 3 forms of how you can authenticate. So you can either go in using, if you actually use your Gmail, or if your organization uses Google Workspace, then you can use this to log into eBoard. The other option is you can be able to continue with Microsoft. For those who are already on Office 365, this would be the option that you take. If your board members, some of them are not, they do not use either Google or Microsoft. That's a very unique scenario, but they can also be able to sign up, and you can get to invite them, and I'll get to show you how that particular process looks like. So for today, I'll be using the login with Microsoft, since it's more or less straightforward. And probably before I get to show you the landing page and we get into the system, I'd also want to highlight how you get to access within the Microsoft ecosystem. So for those who already use Office 365, this might be very familiar. So if your tenant has already, there's an approval process that has to be done by your IT admin. If that has already been done, then when you go to the apps, you should be able to find the application called Sibasi eBoard. And when you click on it, again, same story, it will take you in, use your credentials, and then log you in. So you get the same experience as if you're accessing directly from the web. The same interface is what you also get on the mobile device. But besides that, I'd also want to highlight how you see it also on Teams. So for those organizations where you're already using Teams, this would be my Teams. If you're already using Teams, then you can go in and just say, I want to add on the apps. And since I think Edwin highlighted that eBoard is already certified by Microsoft, then when you search for it, you'll find that eBoard is available and you can select. If your organization restricts personalized adding of the app, you'll need an admin approval. So if I select add, like in our case, our tenant, you need an admin to actually go and approve. So with this particular account, we leave it not approved so that we can showcase that particular process of how it looks like. If you also use your Outlook, there is also the option of actually going to apps, and then you'll find it also available as Sibasi eBoard. So this is more or less the many different ways how you can get to access the platform. So when I click that, whether I'm in Outlook, I can access eBoard. Whether I'm on Teams, I can access eBoard. If I've not logged in, then it will just ask me a one-time login, and it will use my credentials. So I get the same experience of whether I'm on Outlook, or I'm on the web, or I'm on Teams. You still get the same experience. So I'll close this so that we can focus on just the web version. So I'll close everything. Yeah, so once you land on eBoard, the first thing that the system gets to show you is, of course, there's the key activities that you can do, but also based on how you are participating in meetings, how well you're engaged, it gives you a score. This is a personalized score that assists. I know most of the time we do evaluation of the board members. This helps the board members to know, I'm receiving this set of documents. How well am I engaged? Am I participating? Am I joining meetings? And as I'm participating in all of this, then this score keeps being updated based on how well you're engaging with a particular organization. On the other front, it gives you the overview aspects where you have the quick actions that you can get to do, whether it is scheduling a new meeting, uploading documents, and so forth. Then if you have any tasks, in this case, for example, you have been requested to approve something, then you'd see it in your needs attention. If you have any upcoming meetings, like we'll get to see this once we set up our next board meeting that will be coming soon, you'll get to see how this particular process and how it shows you the upcoming meetings. Then this area where we have the shared with me, just more or less gives you the list of any documents that you have recently been shared with you. We'll also get to see, as we continue uploading new documents, how that comes on. Then the last aspect of the dashboard is the recent activities, where it just shows, Helen. In this case, I've logged in as a user called Helen. Did publish something, either a new meeting, a new review. There's a new version that has been added on a document that I have access to, and also showing you in terms of the tasks that I have, or any requests where I'm supposed to approve or vote, or the board you might be discussing on a particular topic, and there's a poll that has been issued where the board is going to vote on where do we want to go. Then that sits in this month's progress. Before we move on, I think, and start looking at each of the features, I'd want to quickly highlight how do you get help. you can go on this link, or on the side menu, you also have the aspect where you can click on the help. If I click on this, then it takes you to where you can get the documentation about all the various aspects of the system. Alternatively, if you're, let's say, on the dashboard and you want to quickly ask questions, then there's a chatbot that is included that more or less can answer any questions around the information that is provided. So what like, for example, if I ask about reports or whatever information, the bot is able to pick, it uses AI behind the scenes, and it basically goes and reads information that you have access to, and then gives you feedback on that. If you have accessibility challenges then or issues, or you prefer using dark mode, then that is also available, where you can get to see whichever, and once you set it up across all the experiences that you have, you get that being the same. Then Edwin mentioned that the security is one of the key aspects of this, and considering that you have very sensitive documents that you might be sharing with across your internal team or with the board members, then you'll see the key aspects of what is covered and what is included as part of eBoard. Before I move on out of this landing section and what you get to see, if you have multiple organizations that you are a board member of, you can be able to switch across different organizations. So if I have access to more, for example, I'm in Sibasi Demo, I am also a board member in another organization, then I can be able to switch. And what this does is that it keeps the information separate, but consolidates any actions or activities that you need to look at as an individual. So you as a board member, you get notifications about what you need to do across the different organizations, but the security that is there within the tenant level is actually kept. And only through switching, that's when you are able to actually access information that is sitting within the different organizations. As I'm moving on, I know you might be getting a quick question or something that you might want addressed. You can use the Q&A or chat or the chat, and then just raise whatever. The team is in the background, and they'll be able to answer any questions that you may have. We'll still have a Q&A section at the end of this presentation, so you can be able, we'll actually go into a deep dive to answer any questions that might have come up. Now, the next thing that I would want to highlight is around your profile. And within your profile, you get a number of things. So the first bit is, of course, things that are set up on behalf of for you when you're invited into the organization, and how whether it is your profile, any email that you're using for access, whatever, your phone number. And then if you link up your account, let's say to Microsoft 365, you'll be able to see that. If you've not linked your Google account, you can be able to select this, and basically it takes you through going to log in with your Google account, and then it links that up. What that does is that if you link up your Google account, the next time you want to log in, you can log in with either your Google account, Microsoft account, or any of the various options, and they all consolidate into one into your particular profile. Then the next bit is on notifications. So if you prefer to actually, within your organization, you prefer to actually notify your board of upcoming meetings and so forth, then you can choose to say, I want to receive email notifications. If you set up like your mobile device, then you can be able to get what we call push notifications. Basically, an hour before when you have a meeting, you get a pop-up on your mobile device that you have this particular meeting that is upcoming. And when you select it, it takes you to the meeting, gives you an overview, and I'll get to show you how AI helps in preparing. I think that is one of the core aspects of why we are seeing that eBoard becomes a core tool that you might want to use within your organization. There are some organizations that also say that our board members may need actually to have SMS notifications that can be set up for your organization. And then what it does is that in most cases, we've seen the request is do not send the notifications from eBoard, send the notifications from, I've seen representation from CAK. So we set up that the notification will come that this dear board member or dear Helen, you have an upcoming meeting that is scheduled for a particular date. Please click here, or you need to vote on something. Then that can be set up using the SMS notifications or WhatsApp notifications. In my case, I've set up what this particular account I'm using. I've set up what we are calling the synchronization of your Teams account, so that if a meeting has been set up on Teams, I can get to see it on eBoard. If a meeting is set up on eBoard, I'll get to see it on Teams. If I've linked up also my Google account, I'm also able to get to see this, sync up my meetings. And sometimes it's not even meetings. Sometimes you want the eBoard to remind you that for one of your important clients, there's a birthday that is coming. And once you set that up, it's not really a meeting, it's something that you need as a reminder or an event. You have an upcoming dental, dental what? Edwin, what do we do with dental, whatever? But basically, you can sync up your calendar so
appointment.
that when thank you so much, Edwin. These words. But basically, when you've synced up your calendar, what that helps you with is you're able to, when somebody's scheduling a meeting, they'll see that you are busy at that particular time, so that when you're scheduling meetings and collaborating with our board members, you do not have a challenge where you keep asking, when are you available and so forth. This is new. This has been launched just beginning of this year. It's a Teams bot. I'll get to show you how it looks like we use it internally. You'll get to see how it's quite fancy, and it's where AI now comes and works with your Microsoft Teams and gets to help you coordinate activities between eBoard and whatever you do within your particular organization. The other aspect is, when we set up email notifications, we've had a scenario where board members and, probably also in your case, you might be, when you access the system, when you get these notifications, you feel they're too much and you want to say, okay, just give me notifications for meetings. But for tasks, I do not need to be notified on that. And whenever I receive a document, do not send me notifications. So it gives you capability as a user to choose, how do you want your notifications actually to come through. I don't know whether there's any immediate question, team, that you might want me to address, basically up to where we've reached, before I move on to something very interesting around your business profile. Team, Edwin? Or am I moving too fast, too slow? I know we have about 30 minutes more, but 1 hour more, but I would want to make sure that we are all on track. Edwin, anything that we need to address up to this point?
I think so far we are tracking well. Okay. No questions at the moment, so I think it's making sense. And just to reiterate, of course, we are having an open Q&A, chat where you can be able to just throw in your questions or comments or queries, and then we'll be able to address that even as Amos, continues with this, or probably later once we are done with the demo. So feel free to, put in the comments. Yeah, Amos, you can carry on.
Thank you so much. So something very interesting that is part of and available on eBoard is what we call business profile. So in most cases, you've gone for, cocktails and events, and as a board member or even as an individual, you are being, somebody asks you for your business cards and you didn't carry your business cards. For those who are iPhone, I've seen that where you connect the phones and you share contacts. But also eBoard gives you interesting capability where you can be able to actually, you have your business contact, basically using your profile information that gets to be available as a business profile, and you can be able to publish it. So in this case, if I actually open this, it creates a public, in this case, I've published this, so it's available publicly. You can choose to maintain it as private. When it is public, then you can be able to just send this to somebody and just say, here are my contacts. And what it will do is that if you scan this, if you can try probably on the screen if you're on your device. If you scan this, then it's able to pull in your contact. And in this case, when you send this over to somebody, they are able to actually receive, send you emails and so forth, and even get directions about where your office is, or where you'd want somebody to actually visit you. That's on the business profile, and the last bit is around security. So one of the core things that you need within a proper board management system is around the device management. If you lose your device or you need to do something we call remote wipe, then you can go in and say manage devices, and it shows you all the places where you have logged in. And then you can say, okay, I need to clean up, that device is lost, or that device I've given it to one of my family members. So go and clean up anything that is there that is around eBoard. And what it will do, it will just go and clean up it does what we call remote wipe. That more or less covers the profile. I'll quickly just highlight what we do from an organizational perspective in terms of setting up an organization. Normally, setting up an organization takes us 2 to 3 hours, because the key things that we need to define is, give us your logo, we set it up. If you need, as I mentioned, for your organization, you actually use Microsoft 365. Then we come here and do linking of the account to make sure that eBoard gets available within your tenant. This is new also. One of the key requests has been, okay, we use SharePoint, but we want to share documents that we have already reviewed internally and publish them to the board. So you do this SharePoint integration, and basically what it does is reports and every document that you have approved internally can then be shared with the board directly through the platform, but connecting to your SharePoint. So the document still sits in your SharePoint tenant or your Microsoft 365 tenant, but then gets to be available to your board. The other aspect is enabling what we call due diligence. And due diligence, what it does is you set up, sometimes you have board members who are not members of the organization, and as part of your organizational policy, you want to ask that the board member provides some documents or answers questions about, to share their tax compliance certificate, share, if they operate within another organization, share the company registration and so forth. So you can be able to actually enable it, and then you can even add custom fields where you say, okay, we want all our board members to also answer certain questions. You have onboarded a new board member, they are set up in the system, they'll come and answer, and that information is kept in the system for audit reasons. So I'll turn that off. The other key aspects is, of course, you can change your organizational details. One other major item is being able to make sure that all the documents that are shared through eBoard have a watermark, so that you can tell if a document leaks, you want to know who published that document outside of the organization. So you can actually add watermarks, and when you add the watermarks, you enable it. Then I'll get to show you how it goes and adds. If you say it's confidential, then it adds that. If you wanted to add the name of the person, the time, and so forth, all of that is actually managed from this particular aspect. There are many other key things. I won't go into them at the moment. I think now I want us to segue into the key things that most likely you'll interact with on a day-to-day when it comes to eBoard. Unless there is any question, I'll just immediately move on to this. So on the menu, the key things that every board member, and I keep referring to board members, but in this case, it's not just about the board. You also have internally the different teams that prepare the reports that actually need to be shared with the board. So you can actually add, let's say, your finance team, your procurement team, your HR team, so that at the end of the day, when a task has been assigned from a board meeting that HR, you need to implement a particular aspect, it can be tagged to the specific person in that particular team, so that then when they report and say that we've actually completed this task of setting up the grant reporting schedule, then that information is actually available to not just the team itself, but also to key people who need to know about that particular task. This is more or less the task management aspect. If you receive any approval requests, for example, for meetings, for documents, and you can set up, workflows that you want, every board meeting needs to first be drafted, reviewed, before it actually gets to be available to the board members. That workflow will actually give you what we have in terms of the approval request. And you can set up, every board meeting has to be reviewed by the company secretary. And that means that, going forward, any meetings that are set up that are including the board, then there's an approval workflow that actually is followed up to make sure nothing goes to the board without internal reviews. We are going to spend a bit more time on the meetings, but this is the core view. Of course, you can change it and get to see it based on the calendar, which shows you the current week. But this previous view shows even the meetings that are scheduled as Teams meetings, or you can have even meetings that are physical meetings, and in this case, you'll get to see based on the location and where the meeting is actually going to happen. Calendar view allows you to see, of course, the same view for the meetings, just what is coming in. I'll get to actually show you something. You see this particular meeting. If I go to my Outlook, I mentioned that I want to show you the dual sync of the meetings. If I go to this particular, I think it was on 3rd, you'll see that I have this particular meeting is the same meeting that gets to be seen on eBoard. And what it does is that what I said in terms of the two-way sync. Whenever you create a meeting and it you have it either on Teams, it actually brings it up on this particular side. If you have any surveys that you're giving to the board, and or you have particular polls that you need to actually action and even put timed actions, then you can be able to set up those polls and surveys using this. And then what happens is if I'm supposed to actually edit a particular survey or participate or make sure that every person actually gets to respond, then you can actually be able to set it up, publish it, and then the different board members or the team that actually needs to approve or reject can get to actually do that particular action from this particular view. The other key area is around documents management. Within documents management, and I'll get to show you, for example, in these strategic planning and reports, you can create as many folders as you have, and it's quite straightforward. We do not have a restriction on the type of files that you can be able to upload. So in this case, I'll pick this document and say that I want to upload it. What it does is that it picks that document, uploads it, and then I can be able to actually say, okay, for that particular document, please summarize it for me. And what AI does, in the initial time, it just runs and tries to pick all the information from the document, and then I can be able to see what the document is about quickly without having to go into the particular report. Or I can even go and ask questions. I can be able to raise and say, okay, please summarize this. Or I can ask specific questions about that particular report. So if you have those, 50, 60-page reports, this assists, and if you're preparing for a meeting and you need to remember, okay, so for this particular meeting, where are we, or what are we having, then you can use this particular chart to allow you to get summarization for those particular documents. So folders allows you to put documents in specific folders that you get, and you can share a folder now with your board or even specific teams. The other way is when you go to the documents, any set of documents, whether they are folders, they are board packs, they are within meetings, any documents that get uploaded get to be in this centralized repository where you can get, and still you can be able to do the same things. You can be able to actually get reviews and AI can give you summaries, or you can be able to actually select the particular document and say, okay, this one I actually want to go into. So when you pick any particular document, you actually get to review it within the system. Remember, I mentioned the setting up of the watermark. Then that gets added within any document that gets uploaded. So you'll see, for example, this one, because you've enabled it, it even says that when I get to download this, it will have a watermark that Helen Mkurugenzi is the one who actually downloaded this particular document or accessed this particular document. Other things that you can be able to do with documents is, of course, I'm looking at this and I want to say, okay, with this, I want to know, this looks like, okay, this looks interesting. And once you do this, what it does is you can comment on any particular aspect of the document. You can highlight. You can do the various things that annotations and everything around that. And the moment I select that, I can actually go and say save. When I do that, there's this section that has my notes. My notes now brings what we are having as an annotation. So any annotation I actually do on any document, I can be able to come here and see all the annotations. And one of the most interesting things about this is it's almost two ways. So if I've done my notes and I want to go back to the document that actually is relating to this, I can go to it. Before I go to it, the other option is I can actually say, this should actually be a task that I'll assign a particular person within our team to actually look into. So if you choose this, then it takes you through the flow for setting up a task. But I can go and say I want to view the document, and what it does is that goes to the particular document and then takes you to the specific comments, the list of the comments that you have, and you can be able to actually see, as you're selecting the particular comments, then you can be able to see where it was commented on. Of course, you can still get your AI summaries, and you can be able to engage with a particular document or any set of documents. Before we move on, I'd want to go into now, let me just pick any of the documents and say the executive summary, and I open it. And then I say, if you look at the various actions that I'm able to do, of course, the AI bit we have seen. The other bit is I want to say that this particular document needs approval. So I can say that I want to request for signature. And if your organization uses Adobe Sign or DocuSign, you can just choose any of them. In this particular organization, we've set up both. And once I choose that I want to have it as Adobe Sign, and then I'll choose that I want Amos, that will be my account, to actually go and review and approve this. The moment I select send, I'll show you how that comes on. Let me give it a second as it does that. I'll quickly highlight also that you have the versioning. Versioning allows you to see the different copies. It keeps all the copies of any document that you actually get to upload. So even if you change documents, you're able to see the changes on the documents. Then I'll go to my email. And you'll see this says eBoard has been, there's a request that has come through. Then I'll get to select, I want to review and sign. And I'll take that out. As it opens, it goes to this particular view. And so this is the actual document. And then when I can come in and say, okay, I want to sign, and I'll do whatever and say that Amos is the one who's signing that document, and then I can say submit. So it's that straightforward, and especially for documents that are sensitive, that you need to make sure that signing of the board meeting of that particular set of whether it's a report or whatever you need it actually signed, then this assists to make sure that you have also an audit trail and with signatures that are sitting within the document. So you'll see that I got a notification, and also the requester will receive a notification that your document has just been signed. If we go back to eBoard and I go to e-signatures, I sent this particular document for signing. It will show that it was sent by eBoard, and Changa is the one who signed. And then when I go to the actions, I can see the audit trail of how that particular document, when it was issued, when it was sent out for e-signing, and all the actions that happened, when it was changed and when it was signed, all those actions actually we can get to see for any particular document. I'll post there before now we go into setting up a meeting now for our board. In case you have any particular question, or Edwin, if you picked up any question that I need for the modules that I've just gone through.
Right. When you're going through, some of the annotations that you're making on the document, do you have any comments in terms of the notifications that come? How do those work? Probably you'd want to speak more on that as well.
Fantastic. So within the annotations, whenever I set up any annotations, first of all, the annotations are private. You do not want you're annotating on a document and then it sends notifications to everyone. So you can in this particular one that I created that this looks interesting, I might be having the specific annotation on the document, but I mentioned that you can also set it as a task. When I say I want to have it as a task, then what it does is that it allows me now to come here and I can say, please give me more info about this. And then, of course, I can say that it's critical and I want to assign it. I'll assign it to myself so that we can get to see that how that looks like. And I say that because I'm preparing for a board meeting that is coming next week, I need to understand more about what those numbers and so forth. So the moment I do this, what it does is that it will go and create a task to the account. Now, in this case, I've sent it to myself. And I can be able, now the other person will receive a notification saying that you've been assigned a task. There's a comment around a particular document, and this is what you need actually to get to, you either need to action, and when the person actions, whether it is giving me feedback or whatever, then we can come and actually mark it as a completed task. Thanks for that. I don't know whether there's any other question, Edwin, as I move on now into setting up a meeting. I say I have about another 10 minutes to just go through this setup, and then so that we can open it up and have about 30 minutes for any Q&A.
Yeah, I see Tekla has raised her
Okay.
hand, so I don't know if...
Are we able to allow a muting on the call?
No, sure. Let's see.
Yes, we have.
Yeah.
You have unmuted Tekla. Tekla,
Okay.
you can unmute yourself.
Yes, hi, Tekla. Hello?
So I think, yeah, I don't see her muting, but I think we can carry on. Like we mentioned, there's the Q&A space, so you can also be able to throw in your question there. And then if you have a question also, just feel free to raise your hand, and then we probably will be able to unmute you to ask any questions that you have. Right. Amos, you can carry on.
Thanks. All right, so we go into setting up a meeting. So I'll go and start adding a new meeting. And we say that we are preparing for board review for Q1 2026. And we say that this meeting will actually happen on the week of, on 25th of next month. And it will start off, let's say 9 a.m. and it will go for up to 2 p.m. In this case, you can also be able to set it up as an all day. If I mean, it's the standard calendar that you most likely are familiar with. If it is physical, you can just give directly the location. So I'll say it will be at Sibasi offices. But also, this is interesting. So if your organization uses Zoom, you can be able to come, like in our case, this one, we've already set it up as a Zoom, Zoom within the organization. And you remember earlier I showed the linkage between Teams. I'm able to actually say this is actually going to be a Teams meeting. And I'm selecting Teams so that I can get to show you how you start a meeting that is online when you get to that particular time. Or you can be able to also use Google Meet. So eBoard supports any of these, and once you set it up, then an organizational admin needs to approve this particular setup. But once you have it set up, then it allows like linking the particular meeting and adds Teams automatically within the meeting. The other aspect is in case like if the meeting is actually set up outside of the eBoard, let's say you use WebEx or Cisco or whatever other tool, then you can come and actually provide a link to where the meeting is actually going to happen. But the moment I select Teams, then that link is not available, because then eBoard will handle the creation of the meeting and management of that. The other key area is around setting up recurrent meetings. Let's say every quarter we are going to actually be having a certain meeting, or we are going to have it happens every year. In this case, for example, if you operate an organization that requires certain, like an AGM, you want to say that we are going to be having our AGM every 25th of, then you can be able to set up that kind of a recurrence. The other best part about this is that you can be able to actually, and I'll select about 3 guys so that you can get to see how this looks like. Alternatively, I haven't touched on groups, but basically you have certain scenarios where you have certain committees. For example, I'm a member of a marketing committee, and you'd want, when this meeting is set up, everybody within the marketing committee should actually be able to get this notification. Or you have marketing finance committee, and you might be having even and groups can be extended not just for committees. I'd want to pick it up as within your organization, you have certain departments. So you might say that there's a lead department for procurement, and we would want this to notify all the guys within the procurement team. Then you can actually be able to set up those as not as committees, but a group of this particular department. On another aspect, I mentioned that this is new, adding the bot to the meeting. So what the bot does is that it will go into the meeting. I'm sure most of us have seen Read AI or any other tool. The best part about this is that when it transcribes and does your note taking, it does not take it outside of your organization. It sits within your organization and manages the security parameters to make sure that you do not have board meeting notes being leaked out of or whatever we discussed being leaked out of the organization. So this sits within your particular organization. Once we have our meeting set up, you have two options. You have the option of just saving it, but we've seen, I think, a number of, whenever you're setting any board meeting, you would want to have it as a template. You already have certain things that you want to pre-set up, agenda, whatever. So you can actually get to save it as a template. And that allows you, the next time you're setting up a new meeting, you just start from a template, and it comes already with a number of things set up earlier. Then I'll select, I want to save. Once that is done, now I'm inside the meeting. At this particular point, none of the other guys have been notified. And this is quite critical. So sometimes when you're setting up, we are setting up this board meeting for next month, you do not want actually to notify the board yet. We need to do our internal preparation. We need to prepare documents. We need to say, look at the agenda for the last time. Probably even you want to actually go and say that this is actually a follow-up for another meeting from last year. So, you want to do a couple of things before we get to notify the board. So in this case, the meeting remains in draft mode. When, as a lead organizer, when we are ready, in this case, if it is your company secretary who organizes the meeting, and they are the heads, they are the leads, they're the only ones who will see the particular aspect of being able to publish and basically take this meeting to the board. If you have workflows, as I mentioned earlier, you can also be able to set that up previously so that you do not have meetings being published to the board without internal reviews. Another key aspect is that you are able to share. So let's say in this particular way, all these other guys should not be notified, but I need to have Amos coming in as an owner so that this Amos can also be able to actually, this is when we are preparing for the meeting for the board, or Amos needs to also see the meeting, needs to probably provide some additional information. I can be able to actually do that. And what it does is that now it makes Amos also be able to see the meeting before we have actually formally published it to the board. Then you come in to the agenda. So in some cases, you have you want to type in the agenda. So I can go in and start creating the agenda manually. Alternatively, you have already prepared a report and you have a document that you've already uploaded. And this is what we are going to actually be discussing with the board. This is now where you see the AI agents coming in strong. So I can be able to select that these are the documents and then say from those documents, go and generate the agenda. And what AI will do is read through those particular sets of documents and then try to create an agenda for you. So you see that it will have welcome and introductions. You'll have, this is the point where I normally stop when you're doing the physical demos and you're like, oh my God, the amount of time saved. I think the number of times now, the problem is it's a webinar, so I don't know how I get those claps. So maybe Edwin, you can help. But basically this helps because then it saves you a lot of time in terms of you just provide the set of documents that you want to use to prepare, and then you just come and say generate with the AI, and then it picks from the documents, tries to create an agenda for you. At this particular point, since you're planning, we do not have any particular minutes yet, but setting up minutes is quite straightforward. Is you just go in and you can say add, or the same thing, you can have the minutes documented, and then you say generate with the AI. Also, the bot, when it does the review, picks the transcript from the call, it does its own summary. Then you can also set it up to say that let it set up the minutes. What are the action points and what we need to do? Talking of action points, that's actually what we get to do within the tasks. So as I mentioned, you can be able to add tasks within the meetings and then tag them to individuals who may or may not be within the meeting. So the board met and decided that we are going to actually have the finance team are supposed to do implement a certain solution, or we want to have certain reports in the next board meeting. You can set that up in terms of the tasks, and they will get to be notified, but they have to be within their organizational parameters. The other aspect is also being able to upload the documents. So I can be able to actually select and, from the set of documents. If you've set up to use SharePoint or whatever it is, then you can actually be able to use your SharePoint, which means the documents sit on your SharePoint, but they can be linked to a particular meeting. Or alternatively, I can be able to give my notes about the meeting, and those notes, then everybody within the meeting will be able to get to see. Finally, we have the polls. I've mentioned about setting up polls. You want that when we are having the meeting and we need to have voting for a particular memo or voting of a particular engagement, then you can manage actually to do that using this particular poll or survey. So as you're continuing with this particular workflow, as I said, you can add all the documents, modify the agenda, you can share with the rest of the team, and at this point it still remains as unpublished. So none of the other people except Amos, who I shared the meeting with, meaning Amos can now be able to actually access that particular meeting. None of the other people have been notified. So if you want now to say, okay, let's notify the board that we are ready, the meetings, the agenda, everything is ready, then you just go and say publish, and then you say that if it is approved, then what it does is that now the meeting becomes available to your board, and they will get, if they set up that they want to receive notifications for the meetings and the various engagements, then they will receive this. In fact, just to show you, because I was part of that, I've been set up as to be part of that meeting, you'll see that I receive a calendar, but I also receive a notification saying that I've been invited, and then I can say that accept, reject, and that notifies the person who's organizing for this particular meeting that what is the outcome, what have I said as the person who is going as a person who's going to be part of this particular meeting. So setting up meetings is quite straightforward. As I've shown you, it's a matter of actually just going through a next process, and once you have that set up, then you are able to actually have notify your teams. You have the summarization, if whether I'm doing it from that particular view, or I can go in and see, okay, there's this particular meeting that has been set up on the different dates. Then, I'll just use this. It has a number of documents, it has the agenda and everything. If I say that I want to get the summarization, it gives me the summarization about what that meeting is all about. Yeah, so it's interesting. I think I want to highlight probably two more things. I see it's 11. Then we can probably pause and just get the Q&A section. Let me just select this. Just give me 1 second. So one of the items that I wanted to highlight is that once I set it up, you remember the two-way sync, then I receive, this is still logged in using this particular account. I'm able to get that particular meeting right on my Teams. I still get the notification, and basically, as I mentioned, it's sorry, it's all interlinked, and it's all it allows you to actually have all your information sitting within one particular view. I just want to open as I mentioned, just two more things. One that I want to quickly highlight is on business reports. And what business reports is about is you have a scenario where, as within your particular board, you want to share, whether it is your board or even internally, certain reports that they need to get, as updates. So, for example, I can go in and have this finance report. And once it's published, as a board member, I would be able to go in and say, okay, I want to get this summary of our sales. If I get into it, and this uses Power BI for the publishing, so you get all the capabilities. You're able to actually do the filtering of your of the report. You can see things to do with, whether it is profit growth. I can be able to actually do the slicing and dicing of the data. And this is mainly to prepare for the board meeting, but also to make decisions. So whether it is that, or I'm looking at things like around grants for those who are in the non-profit sector. You've received grants, or you issue grants, and you want to get to know updates about what is happening. In fact, I think, Edwin, probably before you conclude, you can mention where do you go to get these kinds of reports. If you want to actually use this within your organization, how do you get access to this? But basically, any kind of reports that you need to notify your board, you can be able to actually get to share this through these particular views. And this is just another report to showcase how you can be able to actually embed, showcase things to do with your HR. Finally, I want to highlight just one more last thing. So this in itself is the eBoard agent, and once you get to load it up within your tenants, then I can be able to actually, it links up between eBoard and your particular teams. So you're able to interact with an agent that looks at whatever is sitting within your eBoard, and then you're able to assign tasks from teams, and that gets to be loaded back into eBoard. I'll stop there. It's a lot, but today what we were hoping to actually do is run through an entire process of setting up a meeting, run through what do you get from an individual perspective, what do you get for your board when you're setting up whether it is setting up your groups, departments, committees, and so forth. How do you get to share, a meeting and publish, preparation of a meeting, and all the many benefits that you get with this particular solution. And you can get more information about eBoard if you go to eboard.cloud. It has all this information, all the things that I'm talking about. But also you can be able to get additional aspects about what is available. I don't know whether, Edwin, you want to segue into the summarization of what we've talked about so far, as we also look at any questions. I don't know whether Tekla managed to unmute so that we are able to get any additional questions or comments. Yeah. So over to you, Edwin.
Thank you. I think, yes, we have some questions at the Q&A section. So I think even as we just conclude the part of the presentation, and I'd want to do that really quick. So that just give me a minute to share my screen over here. Yeah. Thank you, Amos, for that. I know there's a lot of that you could have actually gone into, but I think the idea is just to give a general view of what is available in the system, and then now get all sorts of feedback in terms of from the users in terms of what we, how they can make use of it. Right. So let me know if you can see my screen.
Yes, you can.
Yeah, thank you for those who are putting in their comments and questions on the chat. We will be addressing that shortly, right? So just give me a minute. I'll just remember that I'm not on camera, right? Awesome. So just to give a snapshot of what Amos has just been able to share over here, of course, we have seen the ability of eBoard to be able to bring in information from the various systems that you have and just create one single central point of truth with regards to whatever you need for your board management. We've seen how easy and intuitive it is for you to use it as a user, right? Your ability, and I think he's mentioned that, the app is available on iOS as well as Android. So you should be able to go and download the app over there as well and have it handy on mobile, as well as on your devices, your tabs, your pads, and all that, right? The other bit is in terms of notifications, and this was key, so that you do not miss an action, right, or an event. The other bit is also around your workflows, your tasks. You are able to now assign or be assigned tasks and keep track of that, just to make sure that everything is neat and up well. And of course, you've seen how we've been able to put in AI and build a bot on it, do summarization in terms of the documents that you have. And I need to pause here for a minute just to talk about what we have seen. Most of the times we receive documents, and the first place that we go with the documents is ChatGPT, right? And you probably might want to put it there and say, summarize this for me. Now, the problem with that is that that is not a secure platform, and especially with regards to the documents that we are handling. So the ability for you to be able to do summarizations and most of that stuff within eBoard is important because, again, of the whatever we're talking about, it's secure. So it's within your own tenant, and everything that you are doing on it is, guardrailed by, the fact that it's within your tenant. You're not training any particular model, your information is not leaking out there. So that is one of the primary bits and things that are very, very neat and dandy about, eBoard. The fact that you have AI on top of it, but that AI is also very, very secure. So that's just a bit of a snapshot of what Amos has been able to present to us today. And just to segue back to our conversation and saying these are the 4 pillars that we're looking at when you're thinking about, becoming a frontier organization, and looking at how do we make the employee experiences richer? How are we able to engage our stakeholders better, in a cutting edge manner? How are we able to reshape our business processes? And you've seen how eBoard is able to do that, try and make work simpler and faster, and also using innovation in terms of being able to bring in all your technologies. Imagine having one particular platform where you can be able to see all your meetings and all your conversations, whether they be it personal, like Amos was saying, your dental appointment vis-a-vis, your board meeting, so that you're not going to double book yourself, for example, something like that. You're able to bring all those things together. But we always mention this, and this is a part of the takeaways that you'd want you to walk away with from this particular meeting, that AI is only as good as the data that it's grounded on, right? So we have to make sure that your data is technically 3 things, right? Your data has to move from a place where, it's in silos, and for it to be unified, where it's complex in terms of it's redundant, it's sitting all over. Different people have different copies of, of the, let's say, for example, the board papers and all that. It's not consistent. You'd want to make that clean, right? You'd want to make sure that it's high quality. And of course, we have to look at security. Your data has to be governed. So, and that is the reason why we are actually saying that eBoard is actually the system that you'd want to use with regards to your board management, because it fits this particular bill, right? And on top of that, like we want to mention that on top of eBoard, we have an array of solutions that are also AI powered that you can be able to take advantage of, right? And these are provided by us as CPASI. And for those who do not know who we are, we usually say that we are an AI native and innovative technology company, and we are very, very passionate about delivering excellent and quality solutions and services that are empowering you to achieve success and impact, whichever way you define that. And, our name and our mission is at the heart of our name, which is just services and solutions invested and integrated into your business for you to achieve success and have an impact. Amos has mentioned that we are a Microsoft Gold partner, and that is the highest tier, and we are able now to provide for you gold tier services as well, and applications that you would need to be able to run your organizations as well, right? Some of the solution stacks that we have, we've been talking about eBoard today, and eBoard falls under our intelligent business platform stack, right? This is just what we call software as a service products that are ready off the shelf, that you can actually just acquire and start using them in your particular organization. There's the other bit that we also do is just helping customers to be able to transition in their organization with regards to things around the Microsoft ecosystem. So we're looking at productivity. Do you have your mails, and you have your Outlook, and your Office applications, all the way to things around your plan and all that. We help you to make the most out of the Microsoft technology suite digital, right? Looking at things around business process automation, looking at your enterprise systems, where some of the information that you would need for you to be able to report the board is going to come from, right? So we help you to be able to make sure that the data on there is consistent and the configuration and customizations work as well as you want them to work. And the last one is also around consultancy and advisory. And this is where we come in and we help make sense of your technology acquisition, right? We want to make sure that you're getting ROI on the licenses that you bought or on the technology and the solutions that you've gotten. So we do things around, your security assessments, your roadmaps, your trainings, just to make sure that you can be able to use the products and the solutions better. So that's part of the things that we do. And would just want you to, feel free to engage with us. Of course, our contacts are on there, but also now is a good time for us to just quickly now segue into, the Q&A session. And I see Tekla had already put in some questions on there. So I don't know if Amos, you are ready to rumble on this one, right?
Already, thank you. Yes, Tekla, I think the first question was around, does eBoard have the ability to connect to an organization's database, extract scattered information across across documents in the database? Yes. Yes, we are able to actually have it connect to a database. I think we need to go into the nitty-gritties of, when you say database, it can be a number of things. It can be your SharePoint. If it is SharePoint, yes, that is available. You can connect. It doesn't pick your entire SharePoint database. You actually tell it which documents you want to be included, and then that gets included into the AI summaries. I think one of the key things that eBoard does very well is separation of the boundaries of what information it thinks through and what information actually, and who gets to actually see it. So with that, it doesn't just pick blanket everything and then just avail it to, to all the users within the system. Somebody needs to say, okay, there's this folder that has whatever the set of reports that you want to share, and these should be the ones that you want to give access to. So if it is SharePoint, that is handled. SharePoint Online, I should actually, is SharePoint Online. If it is, we are talking about Dynamics 365, we're talking about, other solutions, then that in itself needs to be considered separately, so that we look at, okay, what information do we want to get published? You saw like some of the reports. I think it will be the next question that Obadiah, you asked around having I think it's Obadiah, you asked I think around working with my questions are to do with any organization working on the same eBoard currently. Yes, we do have a number of organizations. Some we do not have the authorization to mention publicly, but Zambia Airways would be one that we have the authorization to mention. And we have others. We have quite a number that use this solution. What reports are generated without any human intervention? So the reports that I was showcasing, the Power BI reports, we need to, something Edwin has mentioned that is very critical. We need to understand what systems you use internally and then create a set of reports that get to be published to the board. So we've done this, for example, with some institutions, where you have some certain reports that you want to do, for example, human resource, for finance. And what we do is connect to whatever systems that you're using, create a set of the reports, and these get published and be available now to your board, which I think connecting to what specific data sources activate automatically. I've mentioned that if you're using SharePoint, if you're using within Google Drive, partially, but mostly on the Microsoft ecosystem, there's very strong integration on that front. If we built, your ERP, we are able to actually pull in those reports and publish them also to the board. And finally, if our company faces a crisis tomorrow, how would the platform materially change the board's response within 24 hours? That goes with the notification. So one of the things, I think one of the organizations we work with has their board members sit, I think some are in Europe, some are in Mauritius, and others within the various countries in Africa. Africa. And one of the key things is not just scheduling meetings, but also you sometimes want to get quick feedback from the board, or there's an emergency meeting. We need all the board members available today. We need to discuss, there's a crisis. So what you do is you set up, publish, and the notifications supported within the system will actually do that kind of sending out. And you'll find, like in their case, one of the use cases they mentioned is their board members travel a lot. So when they're on the move, you want to make sure that they have all the information. And by virtue of publishing this information and making it available, they're able to use, now, of course, with AI summarization and so forth, to quickly see, okay, what do we need to do next, or what kind of decisions we need to make. So the platform does support, emergency crisis kind of scenarios, and just through the direct notifications. And that's why we recommend. You saw, like, when you go to the Android side, you'll see the total number of users that have downloaded and used the app actively is more than 1,000, and those can get notifications directly on the mobile device. Like, there's something that you need to action, which is a bit urgent. And I think Tekla mentioned a question around, does it have the ability to show all scheduled meetings in an organization? Yes, we have the reporting. There's two aspects to this. There's a security aspect. So you've seen that we're able to sync up your calendar. You don't want everybody in the organization knowing that you have a dental appointment next week or something like that. So there's two sets of how do you want your reporting to be handled within the organization, who should see availability and so forth. Probably what we could consider for your use case is a view where when you are selecting the members, you are able, it tells you that for this particular day, this particular time, this member has something on their on their calendar, so that you just know that there's something, but not necessarily showing the nitty-gritties about what the engagement. I hope that might be what you have in mind. I think just getting a summary of all the meetings and availability, and definitely 100%, to avoid clashing schedules, across different teams and different individuals within the organization. I think that definitely helps when you are scheduling meetings for your teams and your board. I think those are the questions that I picked up. I don't know whether there's any other question. I know we have about 10 more minutes before the conclusion of the time that we had for this webinar. So feel free to, if there is any other questions that come to mind, to raise that up. I see, Edwin, you want to speak about something else. I hope Tekla and Obadiah have mentioned, I've managed to explain. If I didn't manage to do that, I think we can have a separate call, or you can always raise it up here, then we can try to address it further. Over to you, Edwin.
Right. Thank you, Ernest. I think those are the questions that have come in, and yeah, feel free, Tekla or Obadiah, to just thumbs up on the on the Q&A section to say it's addressed, or probably you can also just add more questions onto it. That's why we are here. We are here for just to address any queries or concerns that you have on this. Just as we are waiting for any other questions to come through, I think it's important for us to know again, it's eBoard.cloud. That is where you're going to get all the information about eBoard, what are the features that we have, and just to highlight here that we have the pricing information here. So you have how you can get it as per seat, right? That is per user per year, or you can get it as per organization. And then of course we have those institutions that probably are mandated to have their data locally, or they have based off of some data restrictions, they might want to actually host that within their environment. So we have what we call a perpetual and self-hosted option for you to be able to take on that, right? So those are the three pricing tiers. We are actually currently, as you can see, running a discount on it, so feel free to reach out to us. I think Annette has just posted some of the contacts with which you can be able to reach out to us on with regards to getting you started with this. Also, the other thing that we can be able to mention on this is that this pricing is for government and commercial, but we also have pricing for non-profit. Again, same tier. You have your per seat, per organization, and self-hosted, and this is just also to help the non-profits to be able to, non-profits and academics to be able to push their impact further, right? So just wanted to mention, go again to eBoard.cloud. You should be able to get all the information that you would require for you to be able to make a decision on what next you would want to do with regards to your board management system. Yeah, so I think that's it from me. I don't know, Amos, if you have any other questions or comments. I'm thinking, I think it's looking good.
Yeah, I know we said that February is the month of love, so I want to say thank you so much, everybody, for joining this particular webinar and for making it engaging. I think with the questions, we hope we managed to demystify AI and how it can assist the organization's planning for your board, but also seeing the capabilities and what it can assist for your day-to-day operational use. We have a number of engagements that are happening. If your organization is on the Microsoft 365 ecosystem, next week on Tuesday, we'll be talking about copilots and how you can use it. It's more of a training, really, as a walkthrough, a deep dive walkthrough on how do you use Copilot. For that, next week on Thursday, we have a different engagement on security. If your organization needs to be, you have concerns about security, how you can achieve this on the Microsoft ecosystem. As a gold partner, we have a lot of engagements that also with Microsoft that we are doing. And what we are hoping is that with this, dissemination of the information and getting to demystify some of these technical items, then you might be able to get to benefit from all this. So again, thank you so much. You have the webinar feedback. It would be great to hear, were we fluent, were we fast, were we slow? Is there any specific topics that you would want us to cover when it comes to the board management or any other topics, especially, since we have in the software business and especially within the Microsoft ecosystem. If you have any questions, you can reach out to us on the webinar or write to us, or you can go and check out eBoard. If you go to eBoard.cloud, there's an option to choose the see a demo, and we can be able to set up a demo for you. But we really appreciate you making the time. I know we have about 5 minutes remaining, and I want to really thank you for coming on, and we'll keep supporting you. In case of any questions, feel free to reach out to us. Asante sana, and wish you all a fantastic Thursday ahead. Asante.
Great stuff. Thank you all for coming, and see you on the next one.